I've seen dozens of videos on YouTube about SEO, how to apply it, right? How to be found on ChatGPT, on Gemini, on Claude, on Google, on whatever. And there are so many hacks, right? Create 10,000 pages. Yeah, Google is not really gonna like that. It should be about the quality. That's just simply how it works. So I'm now applying this for my own project, and I just want to show you how I am doing it, what I am doing, and how it's actually helping me, and how you can make sure that this is automatically being maintained without you having to be on top of it every day or every week. It actually gets you customers though, and not just people that maybe see you and click on it by accident and lower your CTR instead of increase it. So I'm working on a crypto analysis platform, and this is called Blockchain Decoded. And very simple, what you can do right here is you can find charts for crypto, and you can analyze the market in a very unique way with indicators that have a little bit of a now what kind of answer to everything. However, that's not really important. It applies to every project that you may be working on. So what I am doing is, first I'm thinking like, okay, what do I want people to find whenever they do find us, right? I can of course tell a lot about a certain chart or a certain thesis or whatever, but if I don't have that on the website, then it doesn't really make sense to write anything about that. So what I did is, first I've built the project, right? Like, you cannot start something with SEO. Like, that's a little weird. It's the other way around. So I started with the project. We have a bunch of charts right here. If you are logged in, you can find these charts. You can find macro charts, real GDP, 10-year, treasury yield. You see the alt season index, open liquidations or open interest liquidations, RSI, fear and greed index, you name it. So I was thinking, like, people use these kind of charts. They probably Google for it, right? What is the fear and greed index? Now, of course, the fear and greed index is, right on top right here, right? Alternative me, that's kind of where you have the Bitcoin fear and greed index. But then you'll see a lot of other pages, like DJero or whatever that is. I think it's Dutch, whatever. Coin market cap, fear and greed meter, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, yeah, we're probably not going to rank one. So you also want to have a little bit of a real expectation, right? But still, you want to be ambitious as well. And I'm like, if we have a good page with SEO about the fear and greed index, then people might find it, right? The logarithmic regression band, Bitcoin logarithmic regression band, Bitcoin moving averages, right? These are exactly the things that we actually offer on our platform. So I'm like, that's what we want to create pages about. So what I did is I came up with the very simple idea, I think, to make public pages that explain each and every one of those indicators, right? And these are public. People can read what it's all about. So it's some kind of a wiki. So I went to Claude and I said, this is my idea. Let's have a pilot, right? Let's take one of the charts that we have and write a good article about it, right? So it first went over the entire platform that we have and came up with all the charts that we actually offer. So I said, I'm always communicating in Dutch, but it basically went through the entire platform that we have. I said, like, yo, do one, page first. Let's fine tune that. Because if you have 90 different pages that you want to run SEO on and you want to write something, then you cannot ask Cloud, like, hey, write something for all 90 and I don't care, I don't use it. You're probably not even going to read it, right? So it started with just simply one, and that was the logarithmic or the pi cycle top range. So this is where I started. And this was a lot of back and forth. It started to write in a very AI kind of way, and it didn't explain it well. So I said, like, well, it's actually like that. And this is the way we want to formalize it. So let's speak like that. So I did that. It started to really understand, like, what should the headers be. For us, it's called the pi cycle top range, but it's called the pi cycle top here and the pi cycle top here, right? Why? Because that's what people are looking for. Also, the headers, why this amount of days, right? These are the moving averages that it uses. What happens when the two moving averages cross? Has the pi cycle top ever been wrong? What is the pi cycle top range, right? How do you read you see how the headers are pretty much search terms. So that's how Claude did it. Now, at a certain point at the beginning, it was just text, like text, 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 text. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to read this. So my clients probably are also not going to read this. Let's make it nice to read. So then it started to work on the way it was formalizing it and the makeup, the markdowns and all of that. So it started to create a very nice looking visual about that specific chart. Key numbers basically, right? So how many signals it has given, what the moving averages are, what the ratio is. And it says here by Menno Ravels, which is my name, founder of Blockchain Decoded. Now, at a certain point, Claude told me like, hey, we should add your name there because Google is taking it a lot more seriously and it trusts us more if you actually add your name and a little citation of who are you, what are you doing, right? So I gave it my other project. I said, here's an about me page. Read all about me, right? My whole childhood memories are in there. Take from it what you need, right? So then it started to create this entire page and looks amazing, right? A little bit about me and a little FAQ section, right? But this is now a very good balance between how you want to read it, what you're reading, who the person behind it is, and how it ranks for SEO. Because I just noticed that a lot of people are only trying to do it for SEO and keyword, 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 public page, public page, public page. Yeah, Google is not gonna like you better if you have 50,000 bad quality pages than if you have 5,000 great qualities. Right? That's what it is. Quality above quantity for SEO every day. Easy. Anyway, eventually created this website this page so that I was like, I really like it. I like the way it formalizes it. It's in a great writing style. It has my writing style. I asked it like, hey, look at transcripts of my last 30 days as well. Look at the way that I'm writing. So Claude was seeing how I talk to Claude. So it was like, fuck you, you piece of crap. You I had to leave that out. Eventually, it wrote it perfectly. So I said, great, dude, mission passed. Now let's batch this for 7 pages at the time. Because we can do it all in one single batch. You can say like, hey, start a workflow with 100 agents and write it all. However, it's also, do all these specific agents really understand what they are writing? Do they really? Mostly, I noticed that they are not. Right? So what Claude also did for me is it said like, hey, I got back a list from the agents and it turns out that they don't really know certain things. So I was like, okay, create a new file, put everything in there that they have questions about. So I was answering that file at a certain point. I said, Claude, interview me about this and this and that. And after that, it said, wow, okay, cool. Now I really understand. I'm like, nice. So create more pages then. And that's exactly what it did. So now we have pretty much, pages for every single thing. Every indicator has its own nice looking graph. And here and there could be a little bit better, right? Where the text is above the line in the same color, which is hard to read. These are these kind of things that you always want to, manually check for yourself. But overall, it created these pages for all of my indicators that I'm using right here. And I must say that I absolutely love it. Look how this is looking. Again, should fine tune this a little bit so that the text and the progress bars basically are not competing with each other. But I haven't written anything of this. I spent time training Claude, making sure that it understands what these indicators are, the way I want this to be written, and then it wrote it out. And then when it was like, for me, as close to perfect as possible, I said, apply it to the rest. And now they are ready to release Google AI search engines and all of that. So overall, the biggest tip that I can give for all of this is basically don't do it in a big batch. Don't think that it's quality over quantity. What you want to do is be on top of it. I think that the biggest mistake is a lot of people feel like, ooh, we have Opus 5 now, so I don't have to think anymore. Here, do this for it. Yeah, but do what? Right? So be on top of one page. And if you really spend a couple hours, who cares? You try to run something, that's hopefully going to create a successful business. So spend hours at least, right? And then when you're like, oh, this is good, and apply it to the rest. always have that like manual check. Okay, you cannot do it without. AI is not there yet, and it should not be there yet, because if AI is so good at creating all of that, then there will also not be a human that ever reads it. Then you're just making AI work for another AI. But you are trying to create a product that hopefully gets you customers or whatever is successful. You need to reach people, and you as a person can do that, not your AI. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think down below. See you in the next one.